All right, one more note on the 49ers that we got to throw in there, a late-breaking note. The Niners have signed Eric Kendricks, the veteran linebacker, to their practice squad and released Stone Blanton, who's more of a developmental player. Kendricks, of course, was signed by the Niners last year, or at least agreed to sign with the 49ers, and then backed out to go take a deal to go join his former defensive coordinator who was going to Dallas. So that was really it. For years and years, he was in Minnesota. You know, of course, his brother, Michael Kendricks, played at Cal. Eric played at UCLA. You know, both of them really good NFL players. But, you know, there was no question that the longtime Dallas coordinator, you know, brought him, you know, back to Dallas. I mean, that was why he jumped to Dallas, because he wanted to go play for the longtime defensive coach who was the former NFL head coach, and his name's eluding me right now. But Eric Kendricks is now the newest 49er. He is on the practice squad, and the Niners, you know, could use some linebacker help. Let's be honest. I mean, you know, they've got Fred Warner out, and you got Tatum Bethune out, and now you're leaning on Curtis Robinson, who's a career special teamer. And it may just be too much to ask Robinson to step in there and be a full-time guy. I mean, he's never really done it. He might not be able to do it. And so the Niners want to have some depth there. They have Jalen Graham, and Graham's a young player, also a developmental player, and I just don't know how much confidence they have that Graham can do the job. So if you don't have tons of confidence in Graham and not a ton of confidence in Robinson necessarily, and Blanton was more of a developmental guy, man, you got to have some guys who are ready to play on Sundays, and there's no question that Eric Kendricks is that kind of a guy. So he's obviously long in the tooth. He's not the same player that he was coming into the league. He's not the same player that he was for years and years in Minnesota, but he could still help this team for sure. And more than anything, you know, you got to. It takes a lot of mental horsepower to survive as a linebacker in this defense. These middle level defenders are asked to do an awful lot, and it's not for developmental players, which is why Nick Martin hasn't been able to get on the field. You know, it's because he's a developmental player. He still has a lot to learn, and you know, it's a process. So Kendricks is, some people look at it as a negative because it might keep Nick Martin off the field. But overall, I think it's a positive because it gives the 49ers another linebacker they can lean on. So that is the other story of the day. The newest Niner, Eric Kendricks, is now a 49er. All right, Larry Krueger here at Levi's Stadium on a Wednesday for the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show. Check out Pig and a Pickle, 2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out, and they do run out, so get there early, get some brisket chili. They're opening a 3rd location in Petaluma later on this year. We'll tell you more about that when we get the details, but a 3rd Pig and a Pickle is coming to Petaluma. And we'll be in Pig and a Pickle on December 7th in Corte Madera for our Krug Show meet and greet. Stop by December 7th during the bye week, week 14. And I'll be there on that Sunday all day long, eating barbecue, hanging out, watching football, and talking sports with Krug Show fans. So we'll be giving away a Ricky Pearsall autographed mini Niner helmet to one lucky Niner fan. So join us, Pig and a Pickle, December 7th for the Krug Show meet and greet. All right, let's talk a little bit about everything that happened down here in Santa Clara on a Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving. Kyle Shanahan spoke, and, you know, Niners are expecting temperatures probably in the 30s or 40s. It could be icy rain. It could be snow. By the way, Kevin Harlan and Trent Green will be on the call for CBS. Kyle said, hey, you know, we're expecting it might be a blizzard. Kyle said he told the players, hey, man, we showed them video of a blizzard in Cleveland and said, hey, that was last year at this time, so get ready for blizzard-like conditions. So the Niners are going to be ready for snow and rain and wind and terrible weather. And if it's not as bad, well, then they'll be ready. But Kyle doesn't want the guys to walk out on the field on Sunday and be surprised by what they see. Kyle also said the Niners will not open any possible practice windows for any of their players this week or next week. Next week, of course, being the bye week. Sam Aquinu's got a high ankle sprain, so he's going to be out a few weeks. That's kind of a bad break. Today at practice, no Tatum Bethune, no Eddie Pinheiro, no Sam O, and no Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey's McCaffrey was just out because of rest. The rest of the guys obviously with injuries. Luke Gifford was limited at practice. Robert Beal was a full go. He's out of the concussion protocol and he's back on the practice field. That's good, a good sign for the Niners. Kyle was asked about Jair Brown and how he's playing, and he said, man, Tig's playing awesome. He loves the way Jair is playing. And he really thinks that Jair's, a guy who's gotten consistently, he's played good football really throughout his time with the Niners. And Shanahan's a big fan of Brown. So I know there's a lot of people that are like, Brown sucks, Brown's this, Brown's that. Shanahan doesn't agree. He really likes the man he calls Tig, Jair Brown. The Niners defense, amazingly, has allowed fewer points per game than the Browns defense. Robert Saleh probably deserves to be a head coach. The Niners defense is 11th in the NFL. They give up 21.8 points a game. The Browns, with Myles Garrett and their awesome pass rush, they're 13th in points allowed. They give up 22.2 points a game. The Niners give up 0.4 points per game less than this Browns defense does. Just factor that in for a second. Saleh also talked about Jair Brown and said, man, what I love about Jair is just getting better every week. He says it continues to get better. He also told us a story about how Upton Stout, is really a smart player and texted him about some questions that he had about a certain coverage, and that, he's a super smart player and he's getting better every week. Also, Saleh really talked up the Browns running back Quinshon Judkins. Judkins is, 225 pounds, and he runs 4.48. He's a hell of a back. It's going to take a monumental challenge to slow him down. Then we talked to Brock Purdy, and Brock Purdy, by the way, in his last 19 starts, 28 touchdowns, 19 picks. That's just too many picks. His first 21 starts, he had 44 touchdowns, 15 picks. He was asked, will you wear a glove if the conditions are bad on Sunday? He said, no, will not wear a glove. He said he never did at Iowa State, and he's not going to now. He asked, hey, what did you do this week to kind of review your 3-interception game? And he said, man, I watched film, I studied my fundamentals, and then he went through his 3 picks, and he's like, hey, the pick to Ricky was on the run. I should have set my feet and threw there. Talked about the other 2 and said he really needs to process and play faster and be a little bit more decisive. And I thought that was good introspection from Purdy on how he's playing. And the focus continues to be smart with the football. Be smart with the football. I asked him about the offensive line because it seems like the O-line's coming together, and he said the O-line does have a chip on their shoulder. They do have something to prove, and they're in that mindset of like, hey man, let's run the freaking ball. And he almost said down their throat, but he didn't say it. He's too nice of a guy to say it. He's like, let's run the ball down. He's like, all the gaps. But yeah, I think the game plan they would love to throw at Cleveland is run the ball down their throat, and we'll see if the Niners can do that. Also, Brock said he wants to get Pearsall the ball more. I think that's obvious. He needs to get Pearsall more involved. A couple other Niner notes, but we should tell you that these 49er practice reports are brought to you by our friends at Plank. Check them out at plankoakland.com. That's plankoakland.com. They got a brand new facility. They got about 30, 40 different beers on tap, a bowling alley, bocce, 30-foot media walls, over 70 TVs, great food. Mention that you know me, and you'll get 15% off bowling, games, food, and non-alcoholic drinks through November. It's also the perfect place for your holiday party this year, whether it's for friends, family, or your team at work. Once again, check them out, plankoakland.com. That's plankoakland.com. A couple other Niner notes. CMC leads the NFL in both rushing attempts and in receptions. He's got 271 rushing attempts. He's got 81 receptions. I asked him about it. He's like, hey, man, I'm all about team. And it's really not about, any of my individual accolades. He goes, I just don't think about that, which is fair. By the way, Frank Gore is one of 26 modern-day semifinalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 26. Good luck to Frank. Jair Brown, with his 2 interceptions last week against Carolina, was named NFC's Defensive Player of the Week for Week 12. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN says Brandon Ayuk may be more tradable due to the voided guarantees in his deal, and says that Ayuk's issue with the team, or the team's issue with Ayuk, was his failure to attend rehab appointments in the offseason. Fowler also said Mac Jones is going to fetch a day 2 pick if the Niners decide to move him. And congratulations to Kyle Juszczyk, nominated for the 2025 Art Rooney Sportsmanship Award. So there you go. That's a full day down here in Santa Clara. There were a couple other Niner Shanahan notes that I thought were kind of interesting as well. He said that Deion Sanders was his favorite player growing up, and that he had a Deion jersey and that somebody stole it from him, and he's still mad at the guy who stole it from him. He told us a story about how he showed the guys a video of Brown Steelers from last year and the blizzard that was there to try to get them ready. And then he also kind of said, hey, look, I wasn't managing Purdy in the second half. It's just the way the game went. There were some shots down the field. It just didn't happen that we connected on them. He pushed back on the notion that he was managing Purdy at all in the second half. And he also said, I asked him about Jim Schwartz's wide nine. Schwartz is Shanahan's kryptonite. I think Shanahan's like 1-8 against Schwartz. And he said, he's a really as good a defensive coordinator as there is. He's got a great scheme. It's very sound. And obviously, great talent up front. And that's exactly what they have, is great talent up front. All right, thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Plank Oakland for sponsoring. And we should also tell you thanks to Sleeper, our good friends at Sleeper, for sponsoring all of our stuff. And thanks to all of you for supporting the Krug Show. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. And once again, thanks for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.